Hello, my name is Mie Bakuya, and today you are watching the Hebron Hawkeye series, Life of a Band Kid. In this series, I mainly just talk about the different events that I've experienced while being in the Hebron Band. Now for this video's topic, I'm going to be talking about dealing with the rehearsal schedule. Now Hebron gets a lot of praise for being a very good band, which I won't lie, I am very thankful to be part of such a skilled and wonderful band program, but I'm not going to be oblivious and act like we were already amazing on day one. I won't lie, we are definitely a band that works very hard, and that's mainly because of our rehearsal schedule. So one thing about the Hebron Band is that when it comes to rehearsing, we have one of the most busy schedules I've ever seen, or at least from what I've known. For example, during the summertime when we were having band camp, as I mentioned in my last video, due to having band competitions and band events start about a week earlier, the directors decided that we would use as much time we have throughout the day to really focus and prioritize on marching fundamentals and basically just learning music. During band camp, we would start typically around 7 a.m., maybe 7:30 if the directors were feeling nice, and then we would go until 11 in the afternoon. Then we would get a lunch break for like an hour. After that, we would resume at 12:30 back to our band stuff. Now, usually we stop at 4:30 after that, but sometimes we have extra long days, and so we would get a quick dinner break, and then we would resume from 5:30 and go on till 9 p.m. While that schedule was difficult to maintain, especially on those long days where we would be there until 9 p.m., band has always kind of been that way, but it is definitely a challenge. Now, during the school year, band rehearsals aren't as crazy as all-day rehearsals, but it is still pretty packed. We typically have rehearsals throughout the week. So it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is our off day, but then Thursday and Friday we have rehearsals. Now typically rehearsals are after school for us, so we just get through the school day and then it's straight to band after that. However, on Fridays, those are game days for us. So on Fridays, instead of practicing after school, because that's when the game is taking place, we practice in the morning, and we practice very early because we still have school. So Friday mornings we practice at 6:30 a.m. and then we just practice up until school starts. Now back to the topic of band camp. Usually in band camp we start from 7 or 7:30 as I've mentioned earlier. However, we don't start right away with band stuff. We actually always start the day doing something called Zumba. Basically, the entire band, we all get together and dance along to a bunch of songs. It's honestly pretty fun. It is definitely tiring though. We basically do Zumba to warm up our bodies to get ready for the long day. Another thing that we do in band camp is something called movement or visual block and music block. Now, I don't know if movement block and music block is exclusive to Hebron or if other schools also do that, but basically, movement block or visual block is when we do the actual marching part of marching band. That's when we're usually outside or maybe even in the gym, and we do our marching fundamentals, we do stretches. That's basically all the physical stuff when it comes to band. Now, music block, if you guessed it, is where we play music, and during music block, it's either we play music from our marching show or we play our stand tunes that we play for football games. And there's also a thing called pass-offs, which is something you could do during music block as well. Now, if you don't know what music pass-offs are, that's basically when you play your music from memory, either in front of a director or your private lesson teacher. Basically, if you play your music from memory in front of a teacher, that's what a pass-off is. And pass-offs are there for grades to put in the grade book once the school year starts, but it's also a way to determine whether you are fit for marching or not. Now, I've mentioned this a little bit in my last video, but marching spots are given to people that can prove that they can play music by memory and also march well. So pass-offs are basically there to see if you can play your music by memory. If you don't have enough pass-offs, or if you just cannot play anything, then you basically don't get a marching spot. Now, I'm a senior, so I've been doing this for about 3 years by now, so I'm never really worried when it comes to pass-offs. However, this year's a little bit different because I'm playing on a different part, which is first clarinet. Now, in the last video, I also mentioned how I mainly play bass clarinet and the contrabass clarinet. And at Hebron, we don't march bass clarinets. So if you play bass clarinet, you convert to B flat, but instead of being first clarinet and playing all the high crazy stuff, you're either second or third clarinet, which is just the lower parts and more intermediate parts of the music that we play. So for 2 years, I was always on second clarinet. That's what I've gotten used to. And since I was second part for 2 years, I'd memorized my music already by the first year. But But during the summer, I had found out that I was put on first clarinet along with some of the other bass clarinets, which came to a surprise to me because if I'm being honest, I really can't play B flat all that well, especially on those higher notes. So I was a little bit intimidated when I found out I had to do pass-offs, and suddenly I had to learn clarinet fingerings and learn how to play really high music and really high notes. So while that was a challenge, I did eventually get over that. During the summer, I practiced a lot on high notes and learning clarinet fingerings so that when it came to doing pass-offs, I was more prepared. And while I am still getting used to learning how to play the really high notes on B-flat clarinet, safe to say that I have adapted, and so it's a little easier now. Now, back to the topic of rehearsals. When it came to rehearsals, as I said, they are usually after school. However, if you've been in Texas or have seen how the weather has gotten, it's gotten really hot. I won't dwell on the topic for too long, but basically, instead of having rehearsals after school, because it was so hot in the afternoon, directors had decided that for about 2 weeks we would rehearse in the morning instead. And morning rehearsals were basically like Friday mornings, so we would get there around 6:30, maybe 6:45, and then rehearse until school started. Now personally, I did not like this change, although I know it was for the benefit of us because they don't want us dying from the heat and they wanted us to still be able to practice outside. I still felt I was inconvenienced with the new rehearsal schedule because first of all, they were early in the morning, so I would be losing sleep because I had to go to rehearsals. Second of all, I would start the day doing rehearsals, so I would get all sweaty and gross, and then after that I had to go straight back to class. For me personally, I don't like wearing sportswear or just a t-shirt and shorts during the school day. I think as you see right now, I'm wearing a suit and tie right now, so I don't really like to be lazy when it comes to my outfits. So dealing with morning rehearsals made it tough because I would be in rehearsal wear, then I would have to change really, really fast before school started so that I could go the rest of the day without being smelly and also looking good at the same time. Another thing that kind of irked me was the fact that I have band first period. Normally during band, we start indoors, we play music inside, and then we would go outside to practice all the marching stuff. But since we would have morning rehearsals, we would already be outside. And instead of just staying outside for the whole period and then going inside, we would start outside, go back inside, and then go outside again. So that made it particularly difficult to go change out of my sweaty clothes when I would be already going back and forth and rushing against the clock. While it was tough dealing with the morning schedule, I will say it definitely paid off because we at least got to rehearse outside still, and also it wasn't as hot, and we don't really do that schedule anymore, so it's honestly fine now. If you want to hear more about how the band had to deal with the hot weather and having to go back and forth with morning rehearsals and just dealing with the hot weather in general, we did have an article covering that topic, which you can check on the Hebron Hawkeye website. Now, even though rehearsals are back to normal now, that still doesn't mean the weather is back to normal. If you know what Texas is like, or if you live in Texas, you will know that the weather typically is very back and forth. So even though the weather is quite difficult to deal with, we still have gone back to just afternoon rehearsals. So if it's hot outside during the afternoon, now we just kind of deal with it. We can't really do anything except fight against it. While I will say it definitely is not normal to be marching in 100-degree weather, at the same time, band is never an easy experience. If you've ever marched, you know how difficult it can get some days. So I do feel like, in a way, the hot weather is beneficial because it will help kids to learn how to fight against whatever conditions they're put in, even if they are difficult to deal with. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will definitely try my best to survive this crazy weather. In the meantime, you could either check out my last video or you can go check out the Hebron Hawkeye website and you can look at any articles or any podcasts or any other videos that we've published. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed.